Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20, and welcome to episode 95 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. I've got good news. My Draconic Reactor is yet to explode. Hooray! Everybody's a winner. So what I've been working on? So last couple episodes we focused heavily on the Draconic Reactor. I think I'm pretty much done with this build. That means we're pretty much just going to leave it alone. I've been watching this for like the last little bit here, and this field input rate has been steady right around 85,040. Now this guy is flagged to, let 85,000 in there. So every now and then it burps and gives it a little extra field input power, and it's, keeping the field at a pretty good place. So our field's actually doing just fine, which makes me feel pretty happy. We're producing lots of energy. Roughly, if we zoosh over here, we can see that we're somewhere around the 273,000 RF per tick line. Currently storing 22 billion RF in our tier 6 energy core here. I think we're in good shape in terms of RF power. We shouldn't, quote unquote, shouldn't run out of power anytime soon. I've said that before and I was wrong, but this time I think I'm pretty accurate about that. I don't see it being much of a problem. Now, a couple people have commented regarding this reactor and the distance from my base, including Brandon, who's the author of Draconic Evolution, messaged me and said, I don't think that thing's quite far enough away. He said, you are within the blast radius of that thing. However, it seems to be pretty stable. So, plus I've got the fail-safes installed, so I'm pretty sure that if things went crazy, right, like this thing, right, if things went out of control, we'd be giving a redstone signal to this, meaning redstone signal cuts the power, or it starts allowing more power in, and this thing lets more power in, and this thing prevents power from going out, or it cuts out the power going out. So long story short, I think that if we got into trouble, which I don't think we should, but if we did, the fail-safes would kick in and it would reduce the amount of power being drained out of the reactor and everything would be safe. So I think we're good and stable there. Now, let's work on another exploding reactor. Yay! I've decided that I want to play today with some more industrial craft. So before we got into the whole RF system stuff, we were playing with industrial craft a bit, and I said I'd like to get to the point where we have some form of nuclear reactor going. Now, there's a couple different ways to build nuclear reactors in industrial craft. My personal opinion, the one I like the most, is the fluid reactor, because it has the most steps, which means it's the most fun to automate. So basically what we need to build is several steps. So from industrial craft, we're going to need a few things. All right, so first off, we're going to need reactor components. We're going to need a reactor chamber, a nuclear reactor. We're going to need 6 reactor chambers, and then we're going to need some reactor pressure vessels that basically enclose your reactor. That's going to use uranium fuel to produce heat. And then what we're going to do is get ourselves some coolant, okay? IC2 coolant is produced. We've seen it already. We already know how to produce it. It's pretty straightforward. I don't know if it's listed in extractor or compressor, but doesn't matter. We know how to make it. It's over here. This guy, right? So he makes it using either water or distilled water, which I've been letting run for a while, and we're at 52 buckets worth. It's slow to produce with these solar distilleries. I think there's other ways to get distilled water if we wanted to, but yeah, we'll be fine. So that distilled water can be used to make, or regular water can be used to make a bunch of coolant. The nuclear reactor will turn the cold coolant, this blue stuff, into hot coolant using the reactions from the uranium. So basically, cold coolant becomes hot coolant. We can use that hot coolant to produce steam. In particular, we're going to be producing superheated steam from IC2. This stuff is like super duper hot, and we're going to pipe it into a steam turbine that will then create energy for IC2. So we're going to use a steam boiler and a steam turbine. There's a couple components that I kind of forget exactly how they work, but we'll figure them out. Long story short, though, the main thing I'm going to focus on is getting a reactor up and running. So step 1, reactor. Step 2, coolant. Step 3, test turning cold coolant into hot coolant in the reactor, and then we'll work towards getting some superheated steam using that hot coolant. And the cool thing about the fluid reactor from Industrial Craft, the part that I think is the most fun about it, is it's entirely a closed loop system. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that we're going to be piping distilled water in there, this stuff, to get ourselves a bunch of steam, superheated steam. When that steam produces its energy, it turns back into distilled water, which is going to be heated again by the hot coolant, which can be turned back into distilled water. So there's no loss of distilled water. All right, it's going to be continuously a closed system. It's just going to be distilled water being turned into steam, being turned back into distilled water, back and forth. And the same with the coolant. The coolant is also a closed system. The coolant will be turned into hot coolant. The hot coolant will be used to generate the heat. It'll be turned back into cold coolant, and it'll be piped back into the reactor. So it's, again, a closed loop system. All the coolant stays maintained. We just use it like in a cycle, right? Hot to cold to cold to hot to hot to cold. So those are, there's a lot of moving parts to this, but it's also a lot of fun to build. And anybody who's played with IC2 before knows that there's like 100 different ways to build a reactor. If you're not interested in doing the math and playing the mini game that is the nuclear reactor build, the Industrial Craft forums have a post that describes a bunch of different ways to build reactors. And I'm going to be using one of those that seems to be a good heat fluid reactor based design. Okay, but before we can get to all that, the first thing we need to do is build ourselves a nuclear reactor. And before we even do that, we should find a place to actually decide where we're going to build a nuclear reactor. So let's go digging underground. I'm thinking underneath here might be a good place to start building the nuclear reactor. Now, we've already started playing around under this area, right? So let's make a basement to this building that's going to be responsible for housing our nuclear reactor. And for me, I'd like the basement to be pretty deep, like really deep, because it's a nuclear reactor. Doesn't it make sense that it should be like really far away from our base? Whee! Now, hopefully this area down here isn't too bad. And I'm going to hit like Y level 10. That should be like a nice, safe-ish area. I might be outside the range of my wireless transmitter. But we can do torches, and we can put away all this junk that we collected. I don't really need you at the moment, right? Probably not. Whee! So that'll be kind of where I go, right? And we'll wind up having, I haven't decided exactly, I might want to go with, just because it would be cool, to build the elevators from RF Tools, so we can have like a deep shaft for getting down to our IC2 reactor using the elevator method. That might be really neat. Just from a cool, like, aesthetic appearance point of view. So let me dig out, well, I think that will be kind of my only deep area. Yeah, let me keep, I'll probably have this floorboard area remain. In fact, let me make this. We'll keep that up. And I'll come back in a minute. I have a couple ideas on what I'd like to do. Let's get some smooth stone, and let's get some kind of a builder's wand. Refill in that area. See how nice that is? Beautiful. Yeah, that might be cool. So that'll be our elevator shaft going down into the basement area. And then what I can do is down here, dig out a sufficient sized area. I haven't really measured this out in terms of what I want it to be, but... So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So a 9 by 9 interior, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That shouldn't be too bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we do 7, 8, 9. And this will kind of be our nuclear bunker, if you will. And I'm going to try and, I'll pretty much make this the max range that a player can reach, right? So that'll be the height of it. And I'll pretty this up a little bit, or at least I'll try. It's going to be like a fun little build for me, so. So that should be good, right? Let's put away all this junk that we just collected. Hey, more uranium. We're going to need that. Perfect. Cool. So for now, let's just get a little bit of lighting on the floor. You guys know I hate floor torches, but for now, it'll work. What would be a cool look for this room? So we definitely want an elevator going up and down, right? So what will be is we'll have like an elevator like this. Okay. Whoosh. And I'm going to just dig out a 3x3 there for the elevator to go into. And we'll be able to like walk over to the elevator, hit a button, and then down it'll go. That might work out pretty well. I might want to... Let's remove your 3x3 edges. Let's kind of hide this behind the wall a little bit. A little bit. That should be cool. Let's get some cables. Anybody remember the morph mod? I missed that mod. That should work. Cool. Nice. So that'll be our elevator that we can use to access whatever. Looks good to me. Cool. All right, so we'll get that running. Basically, we're going to want to transfer the fluid up and down once we have the reactor built. Let's get the elevator built. So we're going to want 2 elevator blocks, right? So we're going to need 2 machine frames. My goodness. Things I don't have on hand. We're going to want 2 redstone torches. And that should be able to get us 2 elevator blocks. Cool. And then we're going to want a button panel, usually, right? Button module, elevator button module. Yeah. So like 1, 2 of these, I think. We're going to want a screen and a screen controller from RF Tools. This screen. So probably 2 of them. And a screen controller. And then from extra utilities, we're going to want this dude, wireless RF transmitter. It's only the basement screen controller and elevator block that need power, as I recall. So that might be everything I need. We'll find out. So we'll put an elevator here. Whoosh. We'll put an elevator block here. We'll have our screen controller here. And we'll have the energy doodad there. Actually, let me put that 1 block further back so that I can cover this with whatever, smooth stone or whatever it is. So you're getting power, scan for attached screens. Cool. Now, can you go here without you being in the way? Probably not. So I'll probably want you recessed into the block 1. For down here, right? That should be fine. We're going to put an elevator button module here. You scan. 1 connected screen. Cool. We want... Don't we want to, like, shift-click this? Yeah, that's what we want. Beautiful. then on this dude, we're going to say vertical, larger buttons. Cool. Name, basement. Name, main floor. Why not? I mean, realistically, what I should do is have this thing in here, isn't it? That's where it should probably be. What do you guys think? Well, I mean, that travel anchor is kind of there, but it, yeah, I'm going to keep it in this little sub-basement area. That should be fine. Whoosh. Nice. Okay, cool. So if I call it to the basement. Oh, hello. Neat. So you should realistically be more here. And you can scan. Cool. Now if I hit main floor. Nice. You'll go all the way up. Perfect. That's kind of what I want to see. So let's put this dude here. Vertical and large. Now I might have to scan for this, and I don't know if this is within range, because I forget what the range of this thing is. Yeah, he's not close enough. So what I might need is another one of these wireless RF transmitters, because I need to get this guy within range of both, if I can. So what are the chances you can hit both? You can find one. Which one did you find? The one below? It looks like it, yes. If I break this, you're off. All right, cool. So let's put smooth stone back in here. I'm gonna just try and find like a nice intermediary spot where both of them work. Nice, found two screens, perfect. I just need to keep that thing powered. Wireless doodads. And hey, while I'm here, you, and you, go away. So you are currently losing RF, I presume? I expect you to be. Whether you are or not, I don't know, but now at least you have the ability to maintain. And I'm going to put a stone brick there just in case I ever need to access that thing again, but I shouldn't. So now what I should be able to do is call the elevator to the basement. Here it comes. Whoosh. This stuff can all be covered up. Now I can hit main floor. And up we go. How great is that? Module not linked to an elevator. You are probably correct. You might need to be linked to the bottom one. Come on down to the basement. Back up to the main floor. Cool. Nice. And then basement. Perfect. All right. Working beautifully. Kind of what I wanted to see. Very pleased with it. Nice. I like it. All right, cool. So that is the basics for that room. The next thing, let's build the reactor, but we're not going to start getting it ready to be turned on until we're in a good place with everything we need. So I guess the first things first. For a reactor, the first thing we're going to want to make is the reactor chambers and the nuclear reactor itself. So we need 3 reactor chambers for the nuclear reactor itself, but then we need 1 on all 6 sides. So we need a total of 9 reactor chambers. That is just basic machine casing and lead plates. Cool. So do we know how to make basic machine casings? I'm pretty sure. So let's make about 10 of these because I know we're just going to need them. Start that. Lead plates. We can just make that way. If we really wanted to, obviously, we could, you know, get this thing. But he's doing actually a good job of moving quickly, thanks to my 8 overclocker upgrades in there. But we'll get the lead plates manually. So if we want 4 lead plates per, we'll need 9 times 4 is 36. So let's do about 36 of these. That should be good. Nine of them. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted to see. And then we can use these. We'll need dense lead plates to make the nuclear reactor itself. And a generator. We might have a generator hanging out in there. So let's get ourselves a generator. Oh, cool. You know how to make them. Perfect. Okay. And then we're going to need dense lead plates, which is, again, 36 lead plates. $20. I'm just doing it by hand because it's quicker. And then compressor these guys. I think the compressors down here have overclocker upgrades in them. Not much, but some. Metal formers have overclocker upgrades. Did I teach you guys how to make overclocker upgrades? How far did I get into that? Looks like I did. Yeah, looks reasonable. Kick it off. We'll see what happens. In theory, you're going to get some lapis at some point. Nice. And then an advanced circuit. I should go teach the system how to make these. Getting low on crafting things. So now you can make that, and that shouldn't be a problem. IC2 area. Do we have everything we need now? Nice, nuclear reactor, ready to roll. Okay, so overclocker upgrades are probably in process. Just curious. Machine in use. Okay. Doesn't look all that in use. Try that again. Why do you think the machine's in use? That's weird. Oh well, we'll come back to it later. Figure out why you're being funky. Remember to break that first if you wind up breaking and replacing your fluid canning machine. Otherwise, when you place it, it'll start getting power and it'll explode. Now it's got power. We want it to be in this mode. Connection's fine and working. Oh well. Play with it later. Thought I might be able to troubleshoot it easily, but apparently not. Let's get downstairs and build our foundation for our nuclear reactor. So I'm thinking what we're going to need. So the total size of the nuclear reactor is a 5 by 5 by 5 cube. Okay. I'm thinking I'm going to dig into the ground and maybe into the back wall here. And that'll give me a little extra room inside this area. So let's... Right, so that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 by 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that sound pretty cool? I think that sounds good to me. So if that's the case, then let's pretend for a minute that that's what your cube is going to look like. So the center of this cube is realistically here. So we're going to want to have... That was a derp. That was a big derp. We're going to have to build another, real quick, nuclear reactor. Whoops. So we're going to need just a handful more of lead plate. Let's get a basic machine frame. We're going to need 3 more of these. So in fact, 2 more of these. I'll remember the wrench thing this time. Okay, so 3 more of these. Perfect. And then an advanced and a generator. And that should be pretty close. Once the compressor is done, there we go. Cool. All right, this time without the derps. Cool. So what we'll wind up with is... So like this will be the... So yeah, this will be the center block of the room, right? Take this thing out so we don't derp up again. So we'll have the nuclear reactor here. Yeah, that looks good. And then we can have these guys on all sides. It is a compacted area, but that's fine. Cool. So we'll clear this spot out, and this is where our pressure vessel system goes in. And normally I would probably 3x3 this, but I don't want to accidentally break that again. Cool. So that looks good. So there's the basis for your nuclear reactor. Now let's make it a pressure vessel nuclear reactor. So for that, we're going to need about 95 reactor pressure vessel blocks. And to get those is lead plates plus stone, which is not bad. So in fact, lead plate, let's do this, 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 and this. We'll get like a stack's worth. Reactor, pressure vessel. So we need about 95 of these, right? So that's a stack. Okay, so that's 76. So we'll need a few more. But in addition to that, we need a reactor access hatch. So let's get these ready. Reactor access hatch, which I think lets items go in. A redstone port, which turns it on and off, and a fluid port. I'm probably going to want 2 fluid ports. So let's make 2 of those. Because we want like hot liquid in and cold liquid in, hot liquid out. So 1, 2 of these. We're going to want the redstone port. This allows me to turn it on and off. And then the access port hatch, which just needs that. Cool. So let's get to building. Probably gonna need a handful more of these. I'm just gonna get as much as I can. That's close enough. It's probably a little more than I need, but it's all good. Not like I'm hurting for resources. Alright, so to build this guy, we basically just surround these. And we're gonna have to do it like this. So that's pretty much it. Not in 3x3 mode, which is good. So we want the access hatch here. This allows me to get into the reactor. You can see now that slightly different UI. It's outputting heat units instead of EU. We've still got the same number of inventory slots, but we've got now coolant and heat. So I'm going to put on this side here. This and this. This is for our fluid port. Cool. And then for redstone port, we can control this with a redstone signal. I'll place it over here. Cool. And this will let me turn the reactor on and off with a redstone signal. So our reactor is built, which is cool. So let's come back in a minute and we'll recap what we've done so far. All right, so at this point we have the following. We've got a fully fledged coolant-based nuclear reactor ready to be configured and turn cold coolant into hot coolant. The following needs to be made. First, we have to make cold coolant, right? We're going to pipe it in to one of these reactor fluid ports. Whichever one we want to pipe into doesn't matter. When the reactor is turned on, it'll convert that cold coolant into hot coolant at a rate dependent upon how much uranium we put in here and how we design this nuclear reactor. Now, the problem is generating all that heat has the potential to cause explosions if the core temperature gets too high. The coolant will help the core temperature stay down, but if we run out of coolant and the reactor stays on, kaboom, which we don't want. So we're going to want to build an automation system to prevent that from happening. Then once we have that all set up and we're able to produce hot coolant, we're going to want to start looking at making superheated steam. And that'll kind of be our next stage of the build. So for now, I'm going to wrap up the episode. We'll say Darwell20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll come back next time, and we'll start working towards that. We'll also get, some solar distillery stuff going. Hopefully we'll have even more distilled water, and we can have fun building a steam-based fluid nuclear reactor of industrial craft. Cool? All right, guys. Darwell20 signing off. Take it easy.